Hello out there once again, all my fellow Fix-It employees. Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory. And in the last few episodes, we have been working on our manufacturing facility over here. This is where we're going to be making some heavy modular frames. And we so far have all of the processing up top done, which is going to be the manufacturing itself. We've got the smelting and basic parts down here that are going to be being made. And the last piece of the puzzle is connecting it all together. So let's go ahead and get started with that today. So the first thing we're going to do today is come down here to our main factory down on the end that is facing towards where our manufacturing facility is. And we are going to grab a 4-meter foundation. There we go, 4 meter. And we're going to put it right on top of these foundations we have running out to the manufacturing. Kind of put it a little, not too far back, but just somewhere back in there. And then grab one of these 1 meters and just run a 1 meter foundation up to the edge right here. Don't have to come all the way up, just something to like right there will do. And then take out that 4 meter because we're no longer going to need that. The idea here is that we're going to run some conveyor belts that are going to run all the way down from here down to our manufacturing facility. Next, let's grab a conveyor lift and we're going to put it right here in the middle of this foundation, right there. And you can kind of push it back a little bit. It doesn't have to be too far back. And then just kind of lift up and then have it that way. So our input is going to be straight in right here. And our output is going to be straight out like that. So make sure you have your arrows correct and place that one down. We're going to take our next one. We're going to put it right next to this one. And we're going to turn this one so that the input is coming this direction like that. And then facing down the lane just like that. We're going to come over here to the other side of the two we just placed. We're going to place another one down right next to that one. Now this one is going to also be facing the same way with the first one is. So we're going to have it coming up like that. But now this one's going to be an output, not an input. So we're going to hit R to change our arrows right there. And then you should have the output coming here and the input coming this way. So the input will come down and then come down and out. All right, so in, out. That's the idea there. So essentially what we're doing is we need a way to get the coal from what we have down here all the way up to our manufacturing facility down there so we can make those steel ingots. We also are going to need some parts from here to be sent up through there as well. So we're going to have a line of coal that's going to come this way up into this first conveyor lift. The parts are going to come down on each of these lanes here. Instead of going down here, we're going to combine them into one and we're going to send them up and up the middle lane. And then everything we make, including our new heavy modular frames, are going to come back down and around and then back here, and then we'll separate them into our lifts going down here. So that's what we're going to do. So the next thing is going to be setting up the coal line. So let's head down to where all of our copper is being made, and we're going to take out a floor piece right here so we can get underneath of here. And then we're going to come down here to where our coal line is coming down. So we have the coal that's coming in from where our truck is bringing it in, right? All the way down there at our other building underneath of where we're making steel here. And it's coming all the way down through here, all the way around, up, and then it's going into this right here. So instead what we're going to do is let's just go ahead and delete this conveyor belt going into this lift here and the conveyor pole there. Let's take and put a conveyor splitter in right here. There we go. And then we'll connect a belt from there to there. And then let's connect this coal line back up to there. And that's taken care of now. So our coal is going back down in there to feed our truck down here. And then we're going to take some of this coal and we're going to send it up to our manufacturing facility. Now real quick, we want to come back over here to our assembler floor where we have these parts coming down and we have these going up right here. So we're going to take out these foundations here and down here. And what we're going to do is I want to take and put some floor holes up here. So let's do one. You know what? Let's do it right there next to that one. And then let's come down here to this one and we should be able to put it right there. And then let's go ahead and put a conveyor lift coming up to that one right there. And you can turn it either way. We're going to hide this again with our things, but as long as you make sure that the output is going to the top. So I'm going to hit R to change that over to, there we go, to the green. There we go. So this way our code is going to come up here. It's going to come up, and then it's going to go that way towards there. And now we have our floor holes in. We can cover these back up like so. All right, come back over here underneath of our copper floor over here, and we're going to come down to right about here. And if we remove this floor, we can see that there is our floor hole coming down right here. Now you can go about this two ways. If you are a perfectionist, you can put the floor back in and line up the holes and then make another conveyor lift going down, or you can just do it like this. You can just bring it down right here, turn it, make it sure it's lined up with the floor. That looks sort of good to me. You know what? No, I'm going to turn it that way, just like that. Yeah. So there we go. And then I'm going to put that floor back in there. Okay. And then let's run a conveyor belt line that's going to run all the way from here all the way down here. And it's not going to reach, so we're going to have to put a separation in somewhere, so that's fine. And then we're going to come down here, so if we do it there, that's where it's going to line up with our splitter right there, right? So we want to back it off 2, and then we can just bring this and then connect that into that. And there goes our coal. And then that coal is going to go up to the top floor up there, where we're then going to send that over to our manufacturing. We are now done with this floor underneath of us here, so let's go ahead and put that back in there to cover that floor. And then let's head back up top there to where the coal is going to come out at. All right, we're back up here on the top floor. There is our conveyor lifts going up there. Over here is our conveyor floor hole. So let's pop a conveyor lift on top of that, facing this direction, like so. So we're going to bring our coal out from here. So let's run a conveyor belt that's going to come down to here. And let's put it right there on that foundation line. And then we're going to turn it. And then right there, we can see the line going into our lift. So we'll back up 2. And then just connect right into that conveyor lift. All right, so there's our coal coming down, going in, and you may have noticed that it's kind of going into this conveyor belt right here. We're going to move these conveyor belts in a little bit. We're not going to mess with them right now, but we will later. So this is fine for the moment. Now come up here to the output of our coal, and we're going to run a conveyor belt that is going to run from here all the way down there to where our manufacturing plant is. So what you'll do is you'll just bring this belt as far up as you possibly can until it turns red. And then back it up until we find a nice place that we think is good. So right there. And just repeat this process until we get down here to the end. So what we're going to do is come down here all the way where we have our ladders going up and down the floors right here. We're going to bring this down to that foundation line right there. Now come back down here to our main factory, and we're going to take these foundations we put above this layer, and we're going to zoop them all the way down there, making a walkway over top of our conveyor belts. And bring that all the way down to where we have our coal line right now. So now we have our coal all the way down here. We need to next get it into our steel foundries. So let's head back up to those. Now behind each of these foundries, what we're going to first do is place down a floor hole right in front of the open input right there. And then let's grab a conveyor lift. We're going to connect it to the foundry and then connect it to that floor hole like so. And then we're going to do this with each one of our foundries down through here. Now once you have all the foundries connected up to those conveyor lifts and floor holes, we're going to come underneath of all that, and then we're just going to grab conveyor lifts and bring them down like so. Once all the conveyor lifts are connected on the bottom down here, we're going to grab a conveyor splitter. We're going to put one in each front of these with the input facing towards our coal line that we're going to bring in. So just like that right there. And then making sure to connect these up with a conveyor belt in between, because when we place those that close, it doesn't actually do it. And again, put one of these in front of each one of these lifts right here. Then connect each of these splitters to each other down through here like that. Now we're not going to connect the coal up to these splitters just yet. Instead, what we're going to do is head over here, and if you still have this foundation in right here, just go ahead and delete that and replace that with a 1 meter foundation for the floor. And then we're going to go up to the floor right above us here with our foundries. On this floor, come over here to the left on this first foundation right here next to our machine. What we're going to do is we're going to place down a floor hole right in the middle, right there, between these two foundations, right there. And we can go ahead and put another one right above it too. You can see there because we have the conveyor lift going up here, so we're going to put it basically in the same line as that. Walk over here to the other side, do the same thing in the exact same area. So get it right centered up right there. Perfect. And then we're going to drop down here, and then we're going to take and put a conveyor lift on the bottom of this one. Now we want this one right here is going to be an input, and we're going to be facing it this direction like that. So just there. And then come over here to the other side, we're going to put another lift over here, but this one is going to be an output. So hit R to make that an output right there. And that's because everything is going to come down this side but go up this side. So now with our two conveyor lifts in, let's place down a merger. So we're going to place this merger right here. I have a splitter right now, so I'll hit E a couple of times to turn it into a merger. And we want to make sure that the output of our merger is going towards the right hand side conveyor lift. So right there. And then what's going to happen is we're going to bring a line coming down the middle down through here into this merger. But we're also going to connect all of these ones down through here, coming up a line and into this merger as well. So everything goes up and to the logistics layer above us up there. So let's go ahead and connect in a conveyor belt here to that. And then let's come over here to down these. Now what we want to do is we want to place mergers down in front of each and every one of these outputs that we have here. So I'm going to start all the way down here on the very end, and let's grab a merger. So merger, there we go. But we want the output coming down towards us so that it's all going down that direction. So the first one's going to go right here, and we're going to put it right in between these two foundations right there, right on the foundation line, like that. Put another one right here in front of this one. Another one in front of the one on the right hand side, and another one right there in front of the one on the left hand side. And then let's go ahead and connect all of these guys up. So we're going to do from here to here like that, from here to here, and then connect them in between as well. So where these two mergers right here are, connected those two together, and then repeat the process here and here. That autosave just completely messed me up right there. And then connect in the rest of our belts here. So there we go. Alright, so we have two coming down on each side. All of these are going into these mergers right here, and all of the mergers should be connected. Then we are going to run a conveyor belt running from this last merger up this line right down the middle down through here as far as you can take it, which looks like it's going to be right here. And we'll leave that for now right there. We're going to come down here. We're going to do the same thing. So again, I'm going to grab a merger right here. Make sure the output is facing towards that last merger down there. And we're going to put one of these in front of each one of these conveyor lift outputs. So just the same way we did it. It's actually easier to work backwards here. So right there. And right there. And the last one is right there. And again, we're going to connect all of these up. Let's go ahead and connect this belt right here to this merger. Connect all of our mergers together. And then connect our conveyor lifts to the mergers. So these two on this side. And come to the other side and connect these guys up right through there. And into that. And then connect this last merger into this merger here. Alright, so now, once again, I'll go over it one more time. So we have everything coming down from this floor, going into the mergers. The mergers run up through the middle of the floor into these next set of mergers, which will then send everything that we're making on that floor up to the floor above us. come back up here on this floor right above us here. Go ahead and connect some conveyor lifts running up from this conveyor hull up to the one on top there we placed. You can do it however you want. I like to have it facing kind of this way. That's why when I'm standing here, I can see all the parts going up and down right there. Then do the same thing on the other side. We're going to connect that top conveyor hull up to this one right here, and yeah, that works. Now we can go ahead and hook up our coal line. So let's grab a conveyor belt. We're going to turn it right here. I want to make sure that I get just the right turn. Right, that looks good. And right to there. Make sure that's straight. All right, back to, so right there, right on that line. And then we'll turn it. And let me get out of the way here so we can do this. And I know that my belts coming down through here are going to come down through here. So that looks right there. And back that up too. Make that turn and connect straight into those splitters down there. And now we got the coal flowing, but it's not really going to do anything because we don't have any electricity to our machines just yet. Now I can bring a belt that's going to come out from this merger right here all the way up to, we're going to have it go down the middle of our line, so right there. And I'll just make sure that I get this bend just right here, and then I'll connect it to right there on that. And then we just have to connect that belt all the way down here to the middle conveyor lift coming out down there. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Connecting the two together to finish up that line. There we go. Now we're going to come back down here once more, and we're going to finish this up by placing the conveyor belt coming out from here. We're going to run that down through here and to that last line, which is going to be right there. So we'll push it back to make that bend, and right there on that. And now we want to go down to here, right there. And same thing again. We are then going to connect this conveyor belt, run it all the way down through here, and connect to that last conveyor lift down there on the end. And there we go. Alright, so now our output is now connected. So that's going to be our coal. That's going to be our main factory pieces here coming up through there. And then we're going to have everything else is going to come back down through here and then merge back into the rest of the factory so we can send everything to storage. So I think that takes care of everything on this floor here. So next we're going to start working on the top of logistics floor up there. So let's climb up to that one. So as you can see here, our floor hull is conveniently placed right next to our merger. So we should just be able to do this. Connect a conveyor lift to the merger or the floor hull, and then vice versa, like so. And they should connect right up. Now, if yours doesn't line up right here, your merger doesn't, just kind of work it out and then make sure that you do. So what we're having is all the pieces are coming up from the middle, coming up into this merger, but also everything is coming back down this way, right? And then going around, and then it's going to go down through there, and each of our machines up top, our assemblers and our manufacturers, are going to be taking what they need off that line. Our other floor hull over here on the other side, though, is going to be a little different. We're going to grab a conveyor lift, we're going to turn it facing the other way, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run a line that's going to go from the very end down there all the way around, and then come down here into this right here. So come all the way down here to the other end of our top logistics floor. By the end of it, you can see here where the factory is located there, and down here. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab a conveyor belt, and we're going to run it down through here, and we're going to turn it right about the middle of this foundation here, so right there. And then we're going to turn it down this way. And I'm just going to set it right here for now, because what we actually need to do is we need to make sure that the output from our manufacturers above us are coming down into this area. So let's see what we have here. I'm just going to take out a floor hoe here, jump up on top of here, and let's see what we have. So come all the way down here to the very first manufacturer, and we're going to take a floor hoe and we're going to put it in about one space back from where the output is, like so. Grab a conveyor lift, attach it to the manufacturer, and then attach it to the floor hole there, like so. And then do this for the other two manufacturers down through here. And connecting the last one up right there. All right, let's drop back down here to this floor. And you can now see we have these coming down. Let's go ahead and put conveyor lifts on each of these down through here on the bottom, so we know where the output is going to be. So I'm going to place our first one down here, and we're going to face it this way, inwards towards all the other lines. Same thing on the other two down through here. And get that last one down there. Alright, now we know where this line is going to come around to. So let's go ahead and place in some mergers down through here. So I'm just going to copy that and turn it into a merger. And let's place it right about, you know what, let's just use this middle line down through here. And make sure the output is coming down towards us this way, like so. Let's connect that up to that. And then we can come back up here where we have our line coming around. And let's connect that. And let's see, make sure it's turning there. So then down and into that merger there. And we have two manufacturers left to connect. So let's just do the same thing on each of these. Again, we're going to take a merger. We're going to put it right in front of that conveyor lift right there. And I'll do another one down here on this one. And then it's just a matter of connecting up your belts from there to there. And from each of the mergers to the other mergers. Once you have all of those connected, then we're going to come back down here to our last one. And let's find this right here. We could go ahead and delete this foundation here too. Go ahead and turn that into a 1 meter so the floor is still up there. And then let's take and put a conveyor belt. Bring it around to there. And back to turn. And then just connect it up to that one right there. Alright, so now all of the parts that are coming up are going to be taken off by the machines they need. Anything left over and plus the extra stuff that's being made, it's going to come down through here, come all the way around. And then all of the manufacturers that are making our heavy modular frames are going to output into these right here. And again, it's just going to send all the extra parts plus those modular frames down through here into this conveyor lift, where they will then go back down to our bottom floor, as you can see, and then they're going to go back down into our main factory down there. Speaking of which, since we are now making a new part up there, we're going to need a place to store it. Now, what I'm kind of thinking is at some point we may have to expand this storage out or just do something with this. This is probably going to have to change at some point, which is a shame because I really like it and I've been kind of looking at it. I'm not sure how we're going to do it just yet, but for now, we do have this right here where the automated wire is that we aren't using. So let's go ahead and change that one over to a heavy modular frame. Now I can see that as the second one on the right hand side to the top. So if we head back here, we can see it's coming up, let's see, right here down to that. And of course I do have my hazmat suit on. So right down here, this is going to be the one that is sending it. Nope. Is it this one? That's this one. Alright, so find the smart splitter that is outputting the automated wiring that direction. And let's change that over to a heavy modular frame for the time being. And then we're going to have to empty out this container from the automated wiring. Now, I don't want to get rid of all this automated wiring. We may need it in the future. In fact, I'm pretty sure we will. So let's just go ahead and grab what we can. So I'm going to hit take all, take as much of this as I can. And let's just find a spot somewhere we can put this in storage for like temporary. So I'm just going to come over here. We've got some space. Just find anywhere you want. In fact, let's go up to our hub. And then I'm just going to take and put down a couple of these personal storage boxes right here. And let's just throw in as many of these guys as we can. And something I never actually realized until this very moment is that the personal storage boxes hold just as many items as what the big storage containers do. Alright, so now we have all of the automated wiring we made is now safe and sound in its little storage box here. We have it set up so that once we are actually making heavy modular frames, they're going to be coming down through here. I obviously still need to change that sign right there. There we are. Much better now. Now that we have the storage bins fixed up and we have our conveyor belts all ran and everything down there, we can turn our attention to this little section right here at our main factory where we're going to be having the parts come and go. So I'm going to go ahead and delete a couple of pieces here. And I'm going to go ahead and change out this. This is maybe going to stop construction for a little bit with our machines, but we'll get to that. We'll fix that up. All right, let's take out the floor hose here and here. Then we're going to take a splitter and we're going to put it right in the middle of this foundation right here. Not quite in the middle though. We want to bring it back just by one, so it's kind of more like this. And then place that down like that. That way we have the input from this side, and it's going to come out from this right hand side conveyor lift and kind of make a turn and go into that. Take and put a floor hoe on each side of that splitter like so and like so, and go ahead and connect those up with some conveyor lifts like that to make sure you have it turned the right way. There we go. And then now we want to do a merger. And let me get the merger there. And we want this one with the output facing towards us this way. And let's put it as close as we can to the edge right there. Something about like that. And then we can have this come out. And actually, let's start from down here. Let's start from this middle one. And we're just going to turn it. So it goes like this, right? And right there. And then if I turn this, and we should be able to get that just right there. And then connect it up to that merger. And then now we can just bring this one out by one, I think, and then straight into that merger right there. And let's see how that looks. Yep, that works for me. All right, so input coming here, output going into this. We're just then going to split and go down to the bottom floor. And next we just have to make sure that this is all connected up. So let's go ahead and run a conveyor belt across through here. Something about like that. But now I'm noticing that our conveyor belts right here on this side are just a little too close to our edges where we put these in. So I'm just going to delete this right here, and we're going to fix this up a little bit. So if I come all the way down here to the end of this line right here where the rotors and stuff are, we're going to remove these, and we're going to remove this smart splitter right here, and well, we're just going to get rid of all of this, to be honest, and we're going to have to redo all of this to make this work. So you can see now we have that conveyor lift coming down from above us into this wall right here. So what we're going to do is just take and put a smart splitter right there on the end of that with the input facing there. And yeah, just like that. And we're going to have to connect that up. So let's go ahead and put a conveyor belt from the lift to the splitter like so. And then this has to reconnect back into that. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then we just have to program this. So left side is going to be rotors. And then the center is going to be none. And the right hand side is going to be overflow. Then we're going to grab another smart splitter. We're going to put it right here in front of this line right here, lining everything up. But this time it's going to be turned with the input coming from the way we're facing, like that. Connect this to that. There we go. And then connect that to that. And then program this smart splitter so that we have the left side is going to be stators. And the center is going to be overflow. And then everything else is going to be none on that. And then one more smart splitter in front of this next line right here. Connect that to the others, like so. And then we're going to program this smart splitter with modular frames going to the left. And the center is going to be overflow and none to the right. Now that should straighten out that line. And then we just have to run the belt down through here like so. Run that all the way down until we get the connection right there. Yeah, that's that line. So then we'll put it back to. So we essentially just want to run it to that foundation line right there. And then turn it and right into that one. So now all of these parts are going to be coming down through here. There we go. Everything should be flowing smoothly now. Or at least it is on this side. Now we also have to fix this side over here too. So let's go ahead and remove these lines, and we got to get this one working now. We're just going to repeat the process we did on the other side by just removing the conveyor belts and the smart splitters here. Careful to remember which ones go where. So I'm just going to delete all of these. And this one here, and this one here. All right, and again, we have our input coming down from here, so that's going to be our conveyor lift right there. And let's grab a smart splitter, put it on the end of that with the input facing towards the conveyor lift. Connect that up. And then connect that into that. And then we can just program this guy up to be right hand side is going to be rotors. Center will be none. None. There we go. And left side is going to be overflow. Come down here to the next one where we need to put one in. Right there. Turn that with the input facing towards this one. Line it up. That looks good. Put in our connections. Set the smart splitter up. So right hand side is going to be stators this time, with the center being overflow and none to the left. Yep, there we go. Flowing right. And one more smart splitter right here on this side. Connect these guys up. That to that. And one last time, this one is going to be center is going to be overflow, and right hand side is going to be our modular frames, just like that. And then we're going to take another input, conveyor belt, run this up through here like so. Make sure to keep the line as straight as possible all the way up to where the corner is, and right there on the foundation line, where we can then turn that into this merger here. And then now this line is going to merge in with the other line. And then all the extra parts are going to come down through here, merge into this, and we're going to send that up into there. And as you can see now, it's already made its way into our heavy modular frame factory over there, went all the way around, come all the way back down the line, and you can see the parts here. And they are kind of stuck here right now at the moment, but we're going to fix that real quick. Let's drop down below, and we have these coming down. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and bring our conveyor lift down right there, turn it that way, bring the other one down this way, turn it, and there's a neat glitch that you can see where these lines are like right next to each other and they're coming down and just going onto that line. So let's fix that though. We don't need that happening. So let's delete here and here and here. And let's get the other side as well, so we can get that going, fix that, and then we should just be able to connect this conveyor belt to that, this conveyor lift to that conveyor belt. There we go, and everything is back flowing once again. Man, we got a ton of rotors being made, like so many rotors. Alright, so that takes care of the lines, bringing the material up from our main factory down to here, and then all the way back down. So now we need to work on the iron ore. So let's go ahead and drop down here to where our miners are down here, and we're going to work on that. Alright, so here's our first two Mark II miners that we placed down a couple of videos ago. And this is going to be doing our iron here, but this isn't going to be enough. We're actually also going to need to put a couple more miners way over there to bring some over across as well. We need to get these and these over up to there where we're bringing it up right there. So I think the first thing we want to do is let's run all the way down here to the very end where we have our tarmac down here. Just going to copy some of this 1 meter foundation right here, and I'm just going to run this down through there like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and put a 4 meter concrete foundation ramp right about in here somewhere. Let's see. I'm going to go with right there. Yeah, that works. Then I'm going to take a 4 meter flat foundation, and I'm going to run that on top of that, and then we're just going to run this all the way down here to where our miners are. All the way down to here, and that kind of makes a little bit of a edge for our trucking depot down here, which kind of works for me. All right, let's hop back up here now, and we're going to come over here to this section. I'm going to grab some of these 4 meter foundations here. I'm going to put it right underneath of this foundation going up through here, right there, and I'm going to run this across to the foundations we just put over there. Yeah, that works. And I'm just going to fill all of this area in with concrete right here. And we're going to come all the way down until it's not visible right down here. This works fine for me. All right, and then right here, I think what I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and put in some ramps right there. But let's do 1 meter ramps right there. And you know what? Now let's do 2 meter. 2 meter ramps here and here. And then we'll put a couple foundations in right there. So the idea here is we're going to bring all of these lines down through here and up, and same thing for those right there. All right, so now we have all this level and concrete. What we are going to do is I'm going to make that right there where we're going to send both of the iron up to the next level right there. So I'm going to have it come over, join right here, and then go up. And then we're going to bring it from over there across and then down this way. So let's see. I'll probably put the hose right there in the middle. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to take out this 4 meter foundation right here. And I'm going to replace that with a 1 meter foundation like so. And then let's take and put a floor hole like right there in the middle, right on the edge. Right there. All right. And then we can kind of just drop down here. Below it, we'll attach a conveyor lift to the bottom of it, making sure that that is an input, because we're going to have the ore coming across down underneath of this wall right here, and then in and up. So that's the idea here. And then now that I have that, we can go down to the other end, all the way down here. And let's go over here to where we're going to be placing our other 2 miners. Now right here we have 2 iron nodes. Both of those are impure. And we got some deposits on top of this. So let's get rid of these deposits right here. There we go. Alright. And next up, let's go ahead and place down a couple of miners down in here. Both of these are going to be Mark II. I currently don't have any actual portable miners on me to make those. So let's go into production and we'll throw down an equipment workshop just anywhere here we can kind of work with. Go in here and we're going to need 4 portable miners. Alright, once we got those, we can then delete the equipment workshop and then put down our miners here. And I want to do them parallel with how we are going to run them across. So I'm going to put the first one right there. And then our next one is going to go back here on that one. And that should be correct right there. We can also do the same thing we did on the other side. We can just kind of concrete this in as much as we can here. And let's go ahead and build a wall across through here like we did on the other side. So I'll just grab that ramp right there. And actually with the ramp, you know what? Let's just go ahead and build the foundations up on top of here. And then I'll just run these right along the road down through here. Now it's just a matter of linking these 2 up into one conveyor belt. So I'm going to go ahead and place down a merger right in front of this first miner right here, with the output coming towards us and towards the truck depot that we have here. So right about in there somewhere. That should do fine right there. That's probably just far enough that I can make a line from this miner go up to there without any difficulty. That does work. Okay. And then I want to bring this one out, and let's see, I want to have it turn and go that way. So I'm going to bring it out as far as I can. Let me jump up on top of this so I can kind of see what I'm doing here. That will probably work right about there. And it does clear the other miner as well. And then we'll just come up here and let me bring down this one, and we'll turn this one. And I want to have it kind of match up with that. So that looks like right about there. So if I go back 2, something like that, and then I should just be able to link those 2 up. Yeah, okay, that kind of works. Let me hop up here and look at this. So yeah, that's not terrible. I'm not 100% happy with it, but that's about the best we're going to get over here on this side right now. But alright, so next, let's see. So if I was to bring a conveyor belt from this merger out and run it down through here, I'm thinking let's put a floor hole right about there. I think that would be good. And then we're going to put in a conveyor lift on top of that floor hole. And then let's just run a conveyor belt from the merger to that. Alright, and then that's going to go down underneath of here, which we will manage that in a minute. But let's hop up on top of this wall that we made before. I'm kind of looking across through here, and I think I want to put something running right across there. Now I have this kind of a little too far out, so let's get rid of a little bit of this roof right here. I'm going to take out this part, actually just run this right across through there like so, and then that one and up. Alright, so now that we have our truck depot kind of trimmed down a little bit, we need to be able to get the ore from here over to the other side. And the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to go over top of this instead of under. There's just not enough room to go under it on the other side over there. It's possible, but we'll have to go into the ground a little bit, and I don't really want to do that. I want to make this kind of look a little nicer. So we're going to go up and over. So I'm going to put a floor hole in here. I want to build a support structure. It's going to go up, over to the other side, and then back down, and then we'll run the conveyor belt down along the wall on the inside there. But we don't want to put the floor hole down first, because then we won't be able to do our support structure. So what we're going to do first is the support. So let's go into our build menu, go to architecture, and then choose the big frame pillar. Now we're going to put our floor hole down right here, like right on that line, to line up with that right there. So we want to get this so it's going to be directly over top of it, so right about there. So kind of line it up with the structure or the foundation there, and then back up one should do it. And then we're going to put another one on top of that, and then we can delete this one and then place down our floor hole. So by doing so, let's see here, that's going to be, yeah, right about there. And then you can see that that's going to go up and over that. Now I'm going to grab this big frame pillar, we're going to go up another one, and then we're going to go up one more on top of that. I want to keep this right here though, because we're not done there just yet. And then let's see, we want to run these across to the other side. So let's make sure Zoop is turned on, and we'll run it all the way across to the other side. Oh, about just got run over by our truck there. Now we don't want to go all the way over just yet. Nope, we want to come down here. We want to do the same thing we did over here. So let's make sure we line this up just right. So right there's the center, back one, and then we can go up 4, and then connect these together like that. Perfect. Delete the bottom frame pillar, and here we can then place down, let's see, how do I want to do this? Let's delete the foundation here, and instead let's do a 1 meter right there on top, and then place down our floor hole on that. I think right on the line right there should do it, and then that will line up with that. Yep. All right, so then we're going to go and we're going to take and put in a conveyor lift that's going to go from this floor hole. It's going to go up to there, and we're just kind of line it up so that we have it kind of centered there. That looks about right. That's going to be an input, so I'll hit R to change that into an input like so. And then we'll go to the other side again, and we'll do the same thing on this side. We're going to put our conveyor lift down, we're going to lift it up, and we're going to turn it like that, and then just kind of center it up to about right there. Looks good. And that's going to be an output, so there we go. So again, our ore will go down, and it's going to come up, and it's going to go across through this down to the other side, and then we'll send it along that way. But now we have to fix the other side down here. So let's drop down, and let's go underneath of here, and we're going to delete this foundation right here, this 1 meter, so we can reveal the hole right here. And then I'm going to take a conveyor lift, we'll place it down, and we're going to bring that down 1 like that. Bring this one, we'll connect to a conveyor lift there, turn it towards it, and then we can run a conveyor belt from there to there. Alright, so our ore will come down into here, up, and then it's going to go up through our frame system we built up there. And that pretty much completes down here. If you want, you can build the foundation back right there. I'm going to do that. Alright, and then I'm going to jump up, put our foundation back here, cover that hole up. Alright, so the next thing is just getting it from this conveyor lift over to the other conveyor lift. Now we could just run a conveyor belt that's going to run all the way across, except for one itsy bitsy problem. It's too long. So I'm going to have to figure out another way to do that. Alright, so here's how we will make this work. We're going to grab a foundation. We're going to turn it into a 4 meter foundation, and we're going to place it somewhere about the middle of this, so right around in here somewhere, like that. And then we're going to go into our build menu, and we're going to grab the frame floor piece right there. We're going to place that on top of that because we needed to get it just a little bit higher than what it actually is. There we go. And then with that one piece on there, we can then put the rest of our concrete blocks on top of that. We're going to do 3 more. So 1, 2, and 3. So you should have 1 regular 4-meter foundation, 1 of the frame pieces, and then 3 more of those on top. Or you can have 2. You just want this somewhere in between here because that's going to get it up to just the right height right there that we need. Now we are going to then build ourselves a ramp going down here. So I'll make sure Zoop is on, and we'll come down like that. And then we can just climb up on top of this. We can take out these frame pieces right here, and then grab a conveyor belt, connect it to that conveyor lift over there, run it down through here, and you should see it. And we'll just connect it right there, and then connect it to the other side over there. And it's a little tricky to kind of get it to work. There we go. Alright, and kind of comes down a little bit right there in the middle, but in the end I don't think we're going to notice that. I'm just going to delete that conveyor pole underneath of that, and then we can delete everything we just built right now to get up there. So all of that can go, and our ramps like so, and then we can put that big frame pillar right back in the middle of that like so. And there we have it. So now our ore will go up, come over, and come down. We can also go ahead and put our frame pieces back down here. So I'll grab that, put that down to there. Same thing over there, if I can reach it from here, which I can. Perfect. Alright. Now we just need to come over here to the other side, get a conveyor lift, attach it to the bottom like so. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run a conveyor belt that's going to run from here all the way down to the other side down there. It's going to be a little long though, so I'm just going to take out a few spots here, probably right there. We'll probably do it. Make sure I have a foundation here that we can work from like so. Alright, so I'm going to then come down here, grab a conveyor belt, attach it to this conveyor lift on the bottom. We'll come down here, and we'll make sure that is lined up. Perfect. Bring it as far as we can. Oh, I picked that just right, didn't I? Alright, and then we'll connect to there. And then now that should connect all the way down to this conveyor lift right here. And then we'll have it come up and go into the other side. Now let's go ahead and cap this floor hoe off with another conveyor lift, and we're going to face it towards our manufacturing plant right that way, like so. And then let's go over here, and I'm actually going to build this floor out just a little more this way, like that. Alright, then we're going to take a look upward, and we are going to put a floor hole, let's see, right there, and we're going to put that right there on that corner of that foundation right there. And we're going to put another one right here on this foundation corner right there. And then let's grab and put a conveyor lift coming down, making sure we have the input coming from there. Right, that. And let's bring this one down as well, like so. And then we just had to connect up some conveyor lines here. So I'm going to bring it from this conveyor line here. And let's just bring this out to right there first. That way it kind of comes down and then over. And then I'm going to bring it all the way up to here, right to the very edge of where the ramp starts. And then that should line up with our conveyor lift about perfect, I hope. Let me take a look here. Yep, that works. Okay, perfect. Now, we need to get these two combined. So what I think I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and put a merger right here onto this one. So that's going to come down to right about here. And then I need, of course, to have it, let's do a merger there, facing that way. And is that, yeah, I think that is going to be right there. Should be about perfect. Yeah. Okay, right there's our line. Okay. So I should be able to bring a conveyor belt from this miner over to that. And then run that. Let's see. Let's run it to the edge here. And I just realized that I didn't do that here. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. And we're going to fix that real quick. Because I like to have things kind of matching here. And then I should just be able to run that down to there. And then if I bring that out to there. And then up. Okay, that's everything even there. Hop over here. And let's bring a conveyor belt coming from that miner. Let's just bring it all the way down to here, where it's going to turn into that. There, perfectly straight. Back to, and then right into that merger. Fantastic. And that's going to take care of all of the iron once we get it going. And all the iron is going to come down through here, merge into this one, go up. Same thing for that one down there. So it's all going to come down, up, over this, and then down and under here to this. We can go ahead and fill in these right here. We no longer need these 1 meter foundations. I'm literally going to just take a 4 meter foundation, put it right in there, like so. And I'm going to come down here, fill this gap up that we made as well. And come down here, and we'll take out this 1 meter foundation we made. And grab a 4 meter and put that in its place as well. There we go. That should look just fine now. Now let's come down here to the first logistics floor, where we just placed those floor holes in right there. And we're going to come over here to the ones that go up to the middle of the building. I'm going to put a conveyor lift here, and I'm going to have it facing this way, like so. And then I'm going to have this one face that direction, like so. And then we'll put one on top of that, and we'll have it face this one. Is it a little bit? No, it's perfectly straight, actually. That's fantastic. And right into that one. But this one, let's see. I need to place a conveyor lift here. So I'll just do this one this way, like that. And then have it come down. And can I just get that to go straight into that? I sure can. Just like that. Now our two miners right here are going to be needing some power. So I'm going to go ahead and put a power line that's going to come down. And I'm going to put it like right here on this edge. Like so. I just want to line that up just right. That'll probably work. And then I'll connect that over to this pole right here. And then we'll run another line that goes from that pole to this miner here. There we go. And we want to send, so we know that we can send 270 down each of these, but it merges in right here, right? So 270 is all we can put up there. So what we want to do is overclock each of these miners so that we get a combined total of 120 or 270. So let's do the math real quick. I'll hit N to bring up our quick search, which is also our calculator. 270 divided by 2 is equal to 135. So we want each of these miners to produce 135. So let's go in to configure it. I'll throw 3 power shards into each of these, and let's tell it to make 135. Yep, it's going to take 225% clock speed, so we're going to use 2.5 power shards in each of these. I'll do the same thing in the other one here real quick. Alright, there we go. Each of those is producing the maximum that we can possibly get up these lines right now at the moment. But, of course, as you can see, it's not moving because we don't have anything else going right now. But we also need to do the same thing on the 2 miners over on the other side. So let's head over to those miners. Alright, so we will be needing power to these 2 miners over here. I just happen to have a power pole that's right there on top of that little cliff right there that is running our limestone mine we built a while back ago. So I'm going to run a line coming off of that, and we're going to run it all the way as far as we can over here. Try to level it up a little bit, and then we'll run it over here. I'll just put it right here on top of this cliff, and then I will run that to that guy. Actually, let's run it right here and here behind them. Let's do it right here, because then that should work a little better, except that one's coming off of that side. You know what? I'm honestly okay with it. Let's just run it through the machine. We just need to get this done. You guys can fix your power lines any way you want later on. I'm just going to do this real quick. There we go. And then, of course, again, we need to overclock these guys to 225%. 3 power shards in each for 135 units per minute. Alright, that did the trick. We're now producing 270 iron coming from this side, going down the line under here. And as you can see, you can just double check, make sure it is going across through our framework we made, down into that, and it should be going down to the other side there. Let's go check that out. Yes, indeedly do. This seems to be working just fine. Now this video is already getting quite long, but there's only a couple of things left to do. One is going to be adding electricity to all of our machines, and the other is going to be overclocking and making sure all the machines are running as most efficient that they can be. So when it comes to adding power up to our floors and able to run our machines, you guys can do that however you see fit. At this point, you should have a pretty good grasp on how to do that. So I'm not going to go over all of that in detail. I'm just going to give a quick rundown on how I'm personally going to do it, and then we're going to move on to overclocking our machines. Me personally, what I'm going to do is first run a power line over to here, and then I'm going to run a cable up to the bottom of that logistic, like right on the side of that logistics floor right there, kind of right about there. And then I'm going to head up to our first floor of machines. I'm then going to add myself a wall going up right here, and then I'm going to find the beams. I'm then going to add a beam on up to this upper floor, sort of right above where the electric's going to line up right there. And then I'm just going to run that all the way down across, down through the entire factory. I'm then going to run a line that's going to go to the side of that beam. I'm then going to connect each of my machines up to that beam on the bottom, just kind of line everything up right there. And then I'm going to run there and down to this first one. Actually, no, let's go under it, like to that. And then let's run that across from there onto each of the machines. And I'm going to do this the entire way down through there with every one of my machines down through here. Once I get this side all wired up, the next thing is going to be the other side. So first thing I'll do is take out all of these support frames right here. And then I'll put in a new foundation up there to replace that, so we still have a floor. I'm then going to grab a beam, and let's run a beam that goes from, I don't know, right about there, all the way across over here. I'll then put a wall up right here once again. I'll find, looks like I have this right about the middle, so right about there will probably work. And then I'll just run this again, all the way down through there. I'll then run a power cable that goes all the way across over here to the top of this one, like so. And then I can just put that on the bottom, like that. And then do the same thing with each of my machines here that I did on the other side. So we'll just connect those up to the bottom of the beam and then run our power cables across like that. Now we have power to all of our smelters and constructors and foundries on this floor. If you do see one that has a red light like this, go ahead and go into it and let's check and see what's going on with this. So this one specifically just looks like I didn't actually set up the recipe for it. So we'll go ahead and do that. And that's probably going to be, if you have any others, that's most likely what that is too. Now for our top floor, this one's going to be done quite differently because I don't actually have the design finalized yet for what the factory is going to look like, and I don't have any walls or anything up. I'm just going to place down some power just temporarily. So the first thing I'll do is come down here on the very edge where I can actually see that power junction thing right there, and we'll connect to that, and then I'm going to place a power pole right here on the corner, doesn't really matter where. And then I'm going to run this down to our first machine here, which, let's see, the power is on this side. Yes. All right, so what I'll do is I'll just run this to right about here on this junction, and then I'll throw that in there like that, and I'll do the same thing to the other two manufacturers. Now that should provide some temporary power to our manufacturers. We need to turn our attention to the assemblers on the other side. Let's go all the way back down here where we started. I'm going to run a pole that's going to go all the way across over here to the other side. I will then go ahead and place down a power pole on each of these edges here and connect it straight to the assemblers like so. And since I know this is just going to be temporary up here, I'm not too worried about how lined up it is. So now every single one of our machines should now have power. And again, this is just how I did it. You guys can run your power lines any way you want. It's totally up to you. We're now going to turn our attention to overclocking and underclocking our machines to make sure that everything is running with the right parts. So if we take a look inside of one of our manufacturers here at the recipe, it is calling for 2 heavy modular frames per minute being made. In order to do that, we need 10 regular modular frames, 30 steel pipes, 10 encased industrial beams, and 200 screws per minute. Now you take that and you times that by 3. So that's going to be 30 modular frames, 90 steel pipes, 30 encased industrial beams, and a total of 600 screws just for the manufacturers alone. Now, when it comes to working these problems, the way I do it is I work backwards. So since I know I need that many parts, I have it all written down in Notepad here on a side screen. I can then turn my attention to the next machine, which is going to be these assemblers. These assemblers are making reinforced iron plates. Looks like we're making 5 per minute, so that's 10 here. And that is actually fine. So we come over here to this. This is the one making the modular frames. Now I have this overclocked times 3 using the steeled frame recipe. And we are making 7.5 in each one of these. So we need a total of 30. And I have 4 of these machines working, those 2 right there and these 2 right here. And a total of 15 on each side. That's 30 altogether. So we have the modular frames that we need. These should already be fixed up. Just make sure you have 3 power shards in each one of these. So that's going to be a total of, see, 3, 6, 9, 12. You're going to need 12 power shards just for these machines right here. And again, I'm just making sure that each one of these has 3 in each one. Yes. All right. Now, each one of these is going to need 25 steel pipes per minute. So that's going to be another 100 steel pipes on top of that, which means we now need a total of 190 steel pipes. They're also going to be needing 5 reinforced iron plates a minute. That's not a problem. We don't even need to overclock those. Those are already making enough. So those should be fine. So once again, just to be clear, on this floor, you just have to make sure that these machines making the modular frames have 3 power shards in each one, clocked 250% to make 7.5 per machine. So the top floor was actually easy. This next floor down here is going to be the more complicated one. So let's start down here on the end. We are making steel beams on this one. And these steel beams are feeding over to this machine and this machine here, which is making the steel screws. And we only need 5 per each, so that's 10. So this one machine only needs to make 10 steel beams per minute. So this one can be underclocked so that it's only making 10 per minute. But let's take a look at these 2 machines right here. Now these 2 machines are making our steel pipes. And if you remember, we need 190 steel pipes total. We have 4 machines making steel pipes. This one, and then 2 down on the other end. So let's just bring up this thing here. 190 divided by 4 machines. Each of these needs to make about 47.5 steel pipes. So if we overclock this once, let's see, that's 30. All right, so 3 power shards in each of these 4 machines is going to get us 50 steel pipes per minute. We don't necessarily need that. We only need 47.5, so let's just do that. There we go. All right, so just mostly overclocked on this one, not completely. And we're going to do this on the other 2 machines as well. So I'll throw 3 in this one and then overclock that one to 47.5. I'll come down here to the other end, and these 2 machines are also making steel pipes, and we're going to set those up the same way. Again, throw 3 in each one, and then set it to 47.5. And while I'm down here on this side, I'm just going to make sure that this machine is also set to making 10 per minute. Yep, looks like we are good on that. But in order to make these steel frames, we need to think about how many steel ingots we're going to need. So let's take a look here. This one is going to need 71.25 per minute. All right, that means this one is also going to need the same thing. That's about 142 or so. And then this one is going to need 40 per minute. All right, so let's do the calculations on that. 40 plus 71.25 plus 71.25. We're going to need 182.5 just for this side alone. All right, so 182.5. And we know that we have 3 foundries running that, so we'll take that and we'll divide that by 3. I need each of those to make about 61. All right, so these first 3 foundries right here we need to overclock these guys. Actually, we don't even really need to mess with this machine because the solid steel ingot recipe itself makes 60 per minute. Now that's not quite exactly what we need, but we can save on some power shards here and just kind of fudge it a little bit. Now one thing I am noticing, and you guys will also notice this, is that we are not getting enough coal to make enough steel ingots. It's not anything we're going to be able to fix in this episode. It's going to require an entire episode on its own. I have a plan for that though, and we will get to that soon. So our foundries, we can leave on their own, just making 60 per minute. We don't have to mess with that at all. But we are going to need 40 iron ingots per minute. So let's make sure we turn our attention over here to our iron ingot machines. Let's take a look at these guys. So they are making 30 per minute. That means we're going to have to overclock these guys too. We need to be able to make 40 of these per minute. There we go. All right. So we want to make sure that each of our smelters that are feeding the foundries is producing 40 per minute. So this one, not this one, but let's skip to this one. We're going to this one right here. And we'll do the same thing. We'll throw a power shard into that and set that for 40 per minute. Do the same thing to all of the smelters that are running the iron ingots over to the foundries. So now that takes care of everything on that side and all the steel components, plus the iron that is feeding these steel foundries. What we need to turn our attention to the other side here. Screws should be fine. We made sure of that in an earlier episode, but we need to make sure we are making enough iron plates. Currently, we're making 20 per minute in each of these machines for a total of 4, but I don't think that's going to be enough. So the iron plates are needed for our assemblers on the top floor that are making our reinforced iron plates, and it looks like we're going to need 30 of each of these. So we have 4 of these machines making the reinforced iron plates. We have 4 machines making regular iron plates, but since those machines down there are only making 20, we need to make sure they are making 30 instead. So now that we know we need a total of 30 iron plates per minute from each of our constructors down here, we can go ahead and go into these, and we can go ahead and change that, overclock that to making 30. Looks like that's going to be at least 1 power shard in each one of our iron plate constructors. Make sure you get all 4 of them, including the 2 down here on the other side. Now that we have these iron plate constructors overclocked, we now know that we are going to need 45 iron ingots for each of these machines. So that's going to be a total of 90. We need to make sure that we have 2 smelters making iron ingots, and both of those are going down to these. So we need to make sure each of these is doing 45 as well. So let's go over here, and these are also going to be needed to be overclocked. So let's go ahead and do 1. Yep, 1 will be 45 iron ore per minute to make 45 iron ingots per minute. So I want to make sure that I get these last 4 smelters fixed over for that as well. So we'll change those over, and that's probably going to be the last of my power shards. Remember, if you need more power shards, you can always go out and find more, but I did warn you guys a couple of times before all of these episodes that we were going to be needing a ton of power shards. So now the only thing left is just making sure that we have enough iron ore coming in to feed all of our machines. So let's take a look here. We'll just calculate up each one of these. So we are doing 40 in each one of these. So that's 40, 80, and 120 plus 45 in each of these. So 120 plus 90 is 210 per side. So that means we can just drop down here and we can just make sure that we have each of these miners producing enough, which they are, because we're actually sending a total of 270 up there. So if I do, let's do that quick math real quick. I need 210, and we'll divide that by 2 is equal to 105. So let's see here. Go into this miner, and we know we need 105 per side. Yeah, we actually can recover a power shard from both of these. That should do the trick. So I'll just take this one. We'll send this one to 105 per minute, like so. Enter, and then grab that power shard back out. And then we can get another 2 power shards back from the other 2 miners on the other side. So I'm going to go do that real quick. And there we go. That's the last one, down to 105, which means we're also saving power as well. I mean, we're using a ton of power at this point, but we're also saving a little bit by downclocking or not overclocking as much on these miners. And that should be enough iron ore going in to feed our machines. Everything should be working fine now. Now, this factory is not its most efficient just yet. No, we still aren't making enough industrial iron beams, I'm sure, so we're going to have to go in and work on that. But that's for another episode. Right now, at this point, you guys should be at a very, very good point where it's making enough of those heavy modular frames that we can move on to something else, and then that will help us with making this even more efficient. But that's for another episode. So that's going to do it for today's lesson. We now have a working heavy modular frame factory producing close to about 6 per minute, or at least it will when we are actually completely done. But there's more work to be done for another episode, which will be coming soon. I'm going to spend the rest of September working on just City Skylines before City Skylines 2 comes out. But I will be back with another episode soon. We're also going to do a live stream. So as you can see, our factory looks a little bare bones right now. I mean, it's not exactly the best looking factory ever. We just have some floors kind of floating in the air. So I'm going to do a live stream where I'm going to make this look a lot better. I'm going to do a little creative with it. And you guys, if you can catch the live stream, or you can tune in later on once it's actually not live, but ready for you guys to watch just on YouTube as an afterthought, then you guys can catch that and you can follow along and do the same thing I do, or you can just customize this as you see fit. So I want to give a huge thank you to everybody who is watching these videos. I put a lot of time and effort into these, so it really means a lot to me that you guys are still watching. And if you want to help out, all you got to do is just leave a like button if you enjoy it, and leave a comment. Even if it's just an emoji, any kind of interaction at all with the video makes YouTube see that this video should be pushed out to a lot of other people and hopefully future subscribers. So if you could do that, it'd mean the world to me. I very much appreciate it. I also want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support through that system. Your monthly donations helps keeps the lights on and the power on, which means my computer can stay on for me to actually keep making these videos. Thank you so much, guys. That's going to do it for today's episode. Wherever you guys are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I'll see you in the next video.